Today's guest is an award-winning picture editor. Recently has worked on such TV shows as Mary Kills People, Ransom, 10 Days in the Valley, and Letterkenny. He has also worked on such feature films as The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind, Leigh, and Let Her Out. He's also an incredible musician and a longtime friend of mine. Please welcome to the show, Duncan Christie. Welcome, Duncan.
Hi, how you doing, man?
Excellent, dude. Excellent. So good to see you.
Good. Editing is one of those. It's like an invisible art form where it's really you're telling the story, and so at a certain point, there's not really you're not injecting. I mean, you're always injecting your own style into it, but it's not necessarily something that sticks out as a recognizable trait of your work, because if you put the same, if you had like, oh, like I'm the guy that always does like the cut long cut, and like you can't do that for everything you're working on, because all you're doing is you're serving the story, and you're serving the style of the show and the shots that they've got. You're not going to like put your style onto something that it doesn't call for, if that makes sense. You're kind of like we're like, it's more like chameleon style, where you're just serving the story and you're serving the visual that are on screen. So I wouldn't say that there's like a style that you can imprint onto whatever you're working on.
Okay.
Other than quality, like it's just is it good? That's the style. For sure. That's my style.
Yeah, it's good work. That's my style. Yeah. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Is there a project that you're most proud of? Like, you've done so many amazing things. Is there something that just like stuck out to you and you said, hey, that was either the most fun, the most enjoyable, or the final product where you're like, wow, man, like I was really in the zone. Like that was really, really good.
Yeah, there's been a few of them. Let me think for a sec. I mean, I like to think that they're all kind of like that, but they're often, they're not. Kenny versus Spenny was a show that it kind of became almost like a lifestyle. Like we all became super good friends, and it was like we had our posse, and it blended into our social lives, into our everyday lives kind of thing. So that was something I was like, I can't pinpoint a specific episode or season. It was more just like an era of my life kind of thing. Because I worked on that show for 7 years, so or 7 seasons straight. So that was like a chunk of time, and I guess I'm proud of that, because it was a good show, and it was like I said, it sort of spilled into all aspects of life. Other things like that movie that I did for Rue Morgue, it's called The Last Will and Testament of Rosalind, Leigh. It's a really like kind of special movie in that we cut the movie at Rue Morgue, which is it's like a horror magazine. It started that way, horror culture magazine, and the founder of it, Rodrigo Godinho, was the director, and this was his first feature. And so it was like really kind of, it's just something kind of special about the process of making this movie. It was like, he's such a cool dude and he's such a great guy. And so working on it with him together, it was like, I don't know, it's like us kind of becoming friends. And, anyone that's in that kind of position where they're sort of entrusting their creative vision with someone, because that's what editing is, right? You're sort of, the director-editor relationship is like, you're like in bed with them creatively. And so I could tell at first there was a little bit of that, I don't know you kind of vibe. And usually like a lot of people just kind of want to work with people they've worked with before, because it's more comfortable. But he saw something on my demo reel that kind of, I don't know, something spoke to him, and he kind of took a chance on me. And I'm only saying took a chance because of that unfamiliarity kind of aspect. But it turned out to be great. And it turned out that, we had a great time, and we were totally creatively in sync, and we became super good friends, kind of like lifelong friends. throughout that process.
So you're asking like about whether I would just do music?
Music
Yeah.
when it comes to film and TV.
So the cool thing is that that's actually what I do. Like I there's picture and then there's sound, and as the editor, I'm doing it all. So editing a TV show is, you're not only editing the picture, but you're also creating the soundtrack. So it's actually married, completely intertwined with what I do picture wise. And that's probably why, I don't know if there's talent there. It's maybe that has something to do with it. It's because I understand how it all works together, and I'm using it all together all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Music,
cool.
Music editing and sound effects editing, and creating moods and feels by pulling different pieces of music from here and there and mixing them and changing them when they need to be changed, and creating the emotional flow.
Some of the best directors start as very good editors. Do you see that in your future?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of my future and my past. Like I got into editing, in film school. I was more in the directing path. I was like going to be a director, but basically like directing in the sense that you're telling the story. And I think hard to just be like, yo, I'm a director. And some people do it. And I think it takes a certain personality to like, just keep pushing yourself like that, or to keep not really pushing yourself, but it's like putting yourself out there all the time. And so, coming out of college, you also kind of need to get a job. And so I got into post-production. I was always the guy that could do the creative work, but also do the technical work. So like I was never scared of the technology because, I played with drum machines in the 90s and stuff. And so I was always like, oh, I can do this like technical shit. I can learn how to use like the tape machines and all that stuff, and yet still bring like a creative, juice to it kind of thing. So blending those two things, and that's kind of how the path of editing, came to me. It's part and parcel the same thing. Without editing, there's no nothing. So, and yet without directing, there's no nothing either. So it's kind of like two halves of the same whole. Is that deep enough for a deep enough explanation of filmmaking?
Oh, it's great. Now that you've edited so much, how has that affected your perception of the world?
That's a good question. I'd like to say it hasn't really. I think it's sharpened other like life skills, I guess. I'm much more organized. My brain is capable of a much bigger capacity of like organization and like sort of problem solving with people. I'm kind of good at like, synthesizing down to the nugget of what the fucking problem is or whatever, because that for sure comes from being a professional editor.